was just past 10 p.m. on May 3, 2007, when a mother's scream cut through the warm Portuguese air. 3-year-old Madeleine McCann, sleeping behind closed yet unlocked patio doors, had vanished from her holiday apartment in Praia da Luz. In the flicker of candlelit dinners and casual check-ins, a nightmare was unfolding. A nation paused. A world joined the search. And to this day, the question echoes in empty corridors and in the hearts of millions. Where is Madeleine? Kate and Jaime McCann arrived in the sun-drenched resort of Praia da Luz, Portugal, on April 28, 2007, with their 3 young children, Madeleine, and twins Sean and Amelie. What should have been a joyful week of family fun soon became a sequence of agonizing moments. On the evening of May 3rd, the parents dined with friends at an oceanfront tapas restaurant, leaving the children asleep in apartment 5A. They took turns checking on them every half hour, pulling aside curtains to ensure each child was breathing easy behind the closed doors. At approximately 10 p.m., Kate found the children's bedroom door wide open and Madeleine gone, her comfort blanket and favored toy, Cuddle Cat, still on the bed. Panic set in instantly, igniting a frantic search that would span continents and years. Within minutes, resort staff and guests fanned out across Praia da Luz, calling Madeleine's name into the night. Portuguese police were called, but early handling of the scene drew criticism. Notes were left in message books alerting potential abductors to the children's whereabouts, and initial forensic opportunities were missed. By May 5th, British detectives flew in, and families around the world pinned posters to lampposts and prayed for a break. As headlines mounted, so too did controversy. The McCanns themselves became suspects before being officially cleared in 2008, after which the Portuguese case went cold. In 2011, Britain's Metropolitan Police launched Operation Grange to re-examine evidence, an inquiry that has since consumed over $13.2 million in public funds. Funding injections in 2025 ensured detectives could keep the case alive, even as fresh leads remained elusive. Early theories ranged from opportunistic abduction to a crime of passion. Witness Martin and Mary Smith described seeing a man carrying a young girl in light-colored pajamas along Rua da Escola Primaria around 10 p.m. A sighting Scotland Yard later deemed the most credible estimate of Madeleine's final moments. Dozens of leads, false confessions, and forensic reanalyses later, no definitive trace of Madeleine's whereabouts has emerged, and her tiny footprints have vanished from any firm timeline. In 2020, German authorities identified Christian Bruckner, a convicted sex offender who lived in the Algarve region at the time, as an official suspect. Investigators uncovered a Hotmail account linked to Bruckner that contained chilling references to Madeleine, and they confirmed he traveled through Praia da Luz in 2007. Yet, despite being designated a person of interest, Bruckner has not been charged, as prosecutors cite insufficient evidence without Madeleine's body or conclusive physical proof. As of May 2025, he remains imprisoned in Germany on unrelated offenses, with an indictment in her disappearance still deemed unlikely. On each anniversary, including the 18th marked in May 2025, the McCanns release heartfelt statements, join community vigils in Rothley, Leicestershire, and thank supporters via their Find Madeleine campaign. They emphasize that despite grief and setbacks, their determination to leave no stone unturned remains unwavering. Authorities keep Madeleine's case open as a missing person inquiry, holding on to the slim hope that she might still be alive somewhere. Madeleine's disappearance reshaped global attitudes toward child safety, holiday vigilance, and the power of collective action. Charities, police forces, and governments worldwide fund missing children initiatives in her memory. But personal closure remains out of reach. No body has been recovered. No final confession has been made. And in countless quiet moments, the world still wonders, who took Madeleine McCann? Is she alive? Will we ever know the truth? Until those questions are answered, her absence will echo in every empty room where a child's giggle should be heard. the nursing student who vanished into a New Hampshire winter night and whose fate remains one of America's most haunting cold cases. It was a frigid winter evening on February 9, 2004, when 21-year-old nursing student Mora Murray's black Saturn sedan veered off Route 112, its airbags deployed, its driver vanished into the night, and an unsolved disappearance that haunts New England was born. Mora Murray was born May 4, 1982, in Brockton, Massachusetts, the fourth of 5 children in an Irish Catholic family. A star athlete in high school, she spent a semester at West Point before transferring to UMass Amherst to study nursing. Friends described her as smart, driven, and generous, but also quietly troubled by her family's struggles and personal pressures. In the days leading up to her disappearance, Mora's behavior grew increasingly erratic. On February 5th, while working a late shift on campus, she broke down in tears over a call with her sister. 2 nights later, she crashed her father's car into a guardrail at 3:30 a.m. in Hadley, Massachusetts. No sobriety test was ever recorded. She spent the morning with her father, then returned to campus to pack much of her life into boxes, removing personal photos from her dorm walls. On the afternoon of February 9th, Mora quietly arranged a week off from her nursing job, citing a non-existent family death. She searched MapQuest for directions to Vermont, inquired about a ski resort condo, withdrew $280 from an ATM, and stocked her car with alcohol and accident report forms. By 4:37 p.m., she'd checked her voicemail for the last time and then drove north into a snowstorm, destination unknown. At 7:27 p.m., a Woodsville resident reported a crash on a sharp bend of Wild Ammonoosuc Road. A passing bus driver found Mora's car locked, its engine cold. Inside, red-stained wine bottles, her teddy bear, and blank accident forms. When police arrived at 7:46 p.m., the driver was gone. No footprints, no struggle, only a baffling empty seat where Mora should have been. In the frantic hours that followed, state police, the FBI, and volunteer teams scoured the forests with tracking dogs, thermal imaging, and cadaver dogs. A torn pair of underwear and a rag in the muffler raised hopes, only to be dashed when tests excluded any link to Mora. Despite high-tech searches and nationwide alerts, no confirmed sighting surfaced. Speculation ranges from voluntary disappearance to abduction or foul play. Some experts argue Mora planned a fresh start. Others point to her purchases and packed belongings as evidence she meant to return. In 2020, German prosecutors highlighted convicted sex offender Christian Bruckner as a person of interest. But without a body or definitive proof, charges remain impossible. In 2009, New Hampshire's cold case unit took over. In 2011 and again in 2022, the FBI issued alerts and VICAP profiles. Searches of nearby properties, house excavations, and bone fragment tests yielded nothing conclusive. On the 20th anniversary in February 2024, authorities released an age progression image to remind the world that Mora could still be alive. But the trail has since gone cold. More than 2 decades have passed since Mora Murray vanished into the New Hampshire woods. No body, no confession, no final clue. Her story endures in candlelit vigils, internet forums, and the hearts of those who refuse to forget a smiling young woman who drove away into the night and never came back. The house was silent, but the horror inside was deafening. On a cold October night in rural Wisconsin, 13-year-old Jaime Clauss vanished without a trace, her parents murdered just feet away. For 88 agonizing days, the world feared the worst. Until one day, barefoot and thin, she ran from the woods into safety, proving heroes can be very small and very brave. Jayme lived with her parents, James and Denise Clauss, in the quiet town of Barron, Wisconsin. She was a shy, sweet middle schooler, known for her big green eyes and warm smile. On October 15, 2018, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Jayme went to school, came home, and went to bed. But evil was already closing in. At 12:53 a.m., a chilling 911 call was placed from Denise Clauss's phone. The dispatcher heard only a commotion and shouting before the line went dead. Minutes later, deputies arrived to a nightmare. Both James and Denise had been shot dead in their home. Jayme was gone. Her cell phone, backpack, and even her dog remained behind. No footprints, no witnesses, just a missing girl and a double murder. Barron went into panic. Over 2,000 volunteers helped law enforcement search fields, forests, and farmlands. Police chased hundreds of leads, from suspicious vehicles to online tips. Jayme's face filled posters and billboards nationwide. Every minute that passed felt heavier. Yet even with a $50,000 reward, she remained missing, like she had evaporated into thin air. Jake Patterson, a 21-year-old stranger, had seen Jayme once, by chance, when she was boarding a school bus. That single glimpse became obsession. He meticulously planned the abduction, shaving his head to avoid leaving DNA, removing license plates, and bringing a shotgun. On the night of the attack, he shot her father at the front door, then broke down the bathroom door where Jayme and her mother hid. He killed Denise and dragged Jayme out of the house wrapped in a blanket. He drove her 2 hours away to his remote cabin in Gordon, Wisconsin. There, he kept her under his bed, hidden behind boxes and weighted down with bins, sometimes for up to 12 hours without food, water, or light. Patterson threatened her with death if she tried to escape. He even had people over, never knowing a terrified girl lay just feet away, silent and waiting. On January 10, 2019, after nearly 3 months in captivity, Patterson left the house. Jayme saw her chance. Summoning every ounce of courage, she pushed aside the bins and crawled out. She ran through snow and woods until she found Jean Nutter, a woman walking her dog. "I'm Jaime Clauss," she said. "I need help." It was the moment the world had prayed for. Jayme led police directly to Patterson's cabin. Within minutes, the monster was arrested. He confessed immediately, chillingly calm, emotionless, and remorseless. In May 2019, he was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Judge James Babler called his crimes one of the most heinous he'd ever seen. Jayme's return was more than survival. It was triumph. She had lost her family, her home, her innocence, but not her spirit. "I am stronger than you," she wrote in a statement to Patterson during his sentencing. She now lives with her aunt and tries to move forward, her bravery inspiring millions. Jaime Clauss didn't just escape, she endured. Her courage in the face of paralyzing fear reminds us that monsters can be real, but so can miracles. In her silence, she waited. In her pain, she endured. And in her moment, she ran, not just toward freedom, but toward hope.